Many of us miss red flags in relationships. We minimize them, we excuse them, we ignore behaviors that are warning signs early on. Why do we make excuses for bad behaviors? Why do we have red flag blindness? I'm going to share 6 reasons why we miss red flags and 4 things we can do if we have ignored these signs in the past. First, 6 key reasons why we might miss red flags in relationships. Reason number 1 is that red flags are subtle at first. They're not always obvious. They can start subtly at first and slowly escalate, making them harder to identify when we're infatuated with somebody. Reason number 2 for why we miss red flags is we tend to focus only on the positives. If you're the kind of person who always looks for the positive traits in others, which is a beautiful thing, you're probably ignoring some red flags. If you are invested in making a relationship work, you might have a tendency to overlook potential issues if you want to maintain the relationship. Reason number 3 for why we miss red flags is we tend to excuse the inexcusable. If you're the kind of person who excuses bad behavior or you dismiss concerning behaviors by attributing them to something temporary like stress or fatigue, you are excusing the inexcusable. Do you give your partner the benefit of the doubt too many times? I invite you to stop doing that because that has you missing red flags. Reason number 4 for why we miss red flags is bad behavior was normalized in your past. And this was something that I learned as I got divorced and realized that the reason I just kept moving the line of what was acceptable is because I grew up in such an unhealthy environment. So if you have been in relationships where there has been unhealthy behaviors, where they were normalized, you might not see these behaviors as clear red flags. This is also true if you grew up in a home like me where unhealthy behaviors were normalized. It makes it difficult to recognize when someone has truly crossed a line. Reason number 5 for why we miss red flags is our partner's charm and affection blinded us at first. If you have ever experienced love bombing or the spell of a very charming person, you know what it's like to feel manipulated by the intense initial phase of a relationship. This makes it really hard to see warning signs early on. You're in that soup of hormones where you're so excited that this person likes you and is treating you so nicely at first that you can dismiss the red flags. And reason number 6 for why we miss red flags is you're afraid to discuss how you felt about their behavior. If you're afraid of conflict, you might ignore or push aside red flags because acknowledging them can be uncomfortable and lead to difficult conversations. These are skills that I feel everyone should learn, and that's why I teach them. If you have ignored red flags in the past, please be kind to yourself. As you can see, people often miss red flags because they might be subtle at first, they might appear gradually, they might be influenced by our desire for the relationship to work, they can be rationalized away, or they can stem from past experiences that normalize certain behaviors, and that makes it harder to recognize them as warning signs. Our brains can sometimes prioritize positive aspects of a relationship and downplay potential issues. So what do you do if you've ignored red flags in the past? Number 1, pay attention to your gut feeling. If something feels off, it probably is. Do not dismiss it, address it. Number 2, be aware of the most common red flags. Get an education on the behaviors that indicate unhealthy relationships. And here are some. Controlling behavior, lack of respect for your boundaries, excessive jealousy, constant criticism, dishonesty, gaslighting, love bombing, a lack of communication or consistency in communication, any kind of emotional manipulation, frequent anger outbursts, and a disregard for your feelings or your needs. Number 3, communicate early on. Address your concerns with your partner and see how they respond. If they get defensive, that's a bad sign. If they are open to hearing you, to change, that's a great sign. And number 4, seek support from others. Discuss your concern with people you trust or with a coach or a therapist. Which red flags have you ignored in the past? And what will you do differently in the future so you don't miss those red flags ever again?